Non, mais ça, c'est quand même, ça, c'est à dénoncer à la police.
Et ça, on y arrive. On appelle la sémaglutine. Son job, c'est d'aider les patients à réguler leur glycémie, donc en gros, d'éviter les pics de sucre dans le sang. Et ce que j'ai découvert, c'est que cette molécule a une sorte d'effet bonus. En fait, elle fait croire à ton cerveau que t'as plus faim, et du coup, elle réduit les envies de manger. Ce qui fait que sur les réseaux, on parle jamais de ce médicament comme d'un traitement pour le diabète, mais comme d'un coup de poing magique qui va t'aider à maigrir et sans effort.
Bilan de mon deuxième mois avec...
1 milligramme, c'est beaucoup.
1 milligramme, c'est beaucoup. De base, c'est quand on commence, mais on retrouve pas 0,25.
Ça, c'est ce que tu as raconté.
Non, ça c'est ce que j'ai compris bien après.
Le dernier truc qui m'a marqué, c'est les prix. Alors, les propositions allaient de 150 à 300 balles, c'est une boîte. Alors qu'en réalité, aujourd'hui, ça coûte 300 francs. Donc non seulement tu risques d'acheter un produit potentiellement dangereux, mais en plus, tu peux le payer jusqu'à 3 fois plus cher que le prix normal. Je précise, à aucun moment, on m'a demandé mon âge, mon poids, ni mes antécédents médicaux. Rien, juste le acheter le logistique sur TikTok. Pour arriver jusqu'à cette étape ultime, il a fallu 2 choses. 1, une couverture, cher et valeur. 2, ne pas griller l'affaire. Et donc un complice. Géo. Et bah du coup, ce sera mon copain. Et je vais dire que c'est mon copain discrètement.
Oui.
Ça va pour toi?
Yes.
Oui, il y a de l'encens, crée, avec la complicité d'un pharmacien.
Et c'est un futur.
Oui, c'est grave.
Et voilà.
C'est bon.
Je trouve que c'est beaucoup trop cher à obtenir.
Après, est-ce que je vais recevoir le produit? Bah, ça, c'est une autre histoire parce que, bah, je sais pas, peut-être que je suis mais c'est pas manqué. Bah, vous savez quoi? C'était une arnaque. J'ai réussi à trouver une personne qui me vend des appliques, un montage, et un outil, j'ai remonté la première fois. Là, j'ai rendez-vous d'ici une dizaine de minutes devant un KFC. Je sais pas si ce que j'apprête à faire, c'est dangereux. Je pense que oui.
De l'extérieur, on dirait que c'est un stylo comme on peut l'avoir en Suisse.
Eh bien, moi, professeur, je suis pas diabétique. Et pourtant, j'ai réussi à me procurer facilement de Ozempic et sans ordonnance. Vous en pensez quoi?
Ça, c'est à dénoncer à la police, c'est pas normal. Et c'est ça notre problème majeur aujourd'hui, c'est que ce type de médicament, l'Ozempic, typiquement, il peut facilement s'obtenir. Et même si ce stylo a une apparence d'un stylo d'Ozempic tout à fait normal, comme les autres, selon d'où il vient, selon où il a été fabriqué, il peut très bien à l'intérieur contenir un faux Ozempic, une fausse substance, une fausse molécule, qui, elle, peut être extrêmement dangereuse pour la santé de la personne.
Si ce médicament est encadré et réservé aux diabétiques, parce que c'est pas un truc à prendre à la légère. Il y a qu'à lire la notice pour s'en rendre compte, la taille de la notice. La notice, elle est plus grande que moi. Effet indésirable très fréquent. Nausée, diarrhée, vomissement, vertige, fatigue, perte de poids, perte d'appétit, inflammation du pancréas, pancréatite aiguë. Vous devez immédiatement consulter votre médecin si vous ressentez de tels symptômes. Ah ouais, non mais je suis désolée, la liste elle est énorme. Ce qui est assez perturbant, c'est que sur les réseaux, tout le monde parle de miracle. Mais le mot qui est revenu sans cesse chez le professeur, c'est plutôt ça.
Dangereux, 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 dangereux. J'aimerais bien remettre l'accent s'il ne reste pas dans les mains des spécialistes.
Que c'était pas normal. En sachant tout ce qui t'arrivait, est-ce que ton médecin t'a conseillé d'arrêter?
Non, non. Alors moi, il fallait que je continue, il fallait que je persévère. Il était super content. Il me disait, ah, vous avez vu, hein, ça marche et tout. Il est miracle, hein, ce produit. Je suis expert dans ça. Il faut continuer, il faut avoir confiance. Il ne faut pas douter de moi, quoi.
Donc il t'a poussé à continuer à l'injecter.
Oui, clairement.
À quel point ça peut être
Donc c'est
dangereux
1
si
et
ça
2.
Plusieurs modes possibles. Vous pouvez développer des effets secondaires, des nausées, des vomissements, ça peut être des douleurs abdominales, ça peut être des diarrhées ou au contraire une inflammation. Il y a aussi d'autres effets secondaires beaucoup plus graves. peut être sous forme d'une inflammation de pancréas, qu'on appelle la pancréatite. Et nous savons que c'est une maladie potentiellement mortelle.
La descente aux enfers m'a mis tout simplement à l'hôpital suite à des fortes douleurs au ventre. Je criais de douleur. Ils ont découvert que j'ai fait une inflammation au intestin et que mon estomac aussi soit inflammé. J'avais mal aussi sur le côté, donc mon estomac aussi sorti inflammé. En fait, le trois en même temps, parce que déjà j'avais super mal.
L'intestin, l'estomac et le côlon étaient totalement enflammés.
Voilà, c'est ça.
Wow. C'est ouf.
Ouais. La seule chose qui m'a calmée, c'était la morphine sous perfusion.
À l'hôpital, ils t'ont dit quoi par rapport à l'Ozempic?
Ils m'ont dit, mais madame, de base, vous ne devez même pas prendre l'Ozempic. Je ne comprends pas comment un de mes collègues puisse vous tester ça. C'est pas recommandé pour perdre du poids, quoi. Enfin, c'est super dangereux. Vous n'avez pas de diabète. Si vous avez, c'est grave. Vous pouvez peut-être rester comme ça. J'ai vraiment eu peur.
Des témoignages comme celui de Zara, j'en ai trouvé plein sur les réseaux. Quand tu prends le temps de chercher, tu tombes toujours sur les mêmes récits. Effet de Grinder, complications. Mais le truc, c'est que personne s'en inquiète vraiment. Pour le coup, je me suis demandé pourquoi. Pourquoi des milliers de gens s'injectent un médicament sans suivi, sans contrôle, donc sont prêts à prendre des risques pour maigrir. Et en vrai, aujourd'hui, il y a juste à se payer sur la vie.
10 sur 10. Ben, j'ai plus de 70 kilos. C'est une combien?
0 sur 10. Ton combien? Ouais, 70, c'est énorme. Arrête, ouais, c'est tout le monde.
C'est mort. Ton fils l'a soulevé, non?
Elle est horrible. Elle est horrible parce que à cause de ce genre de commentaires, justement, c'est le découvrement que ça pousse en fait à maigrir à tout prix. Plus t'es conditionné à il faut que je maigrisse, et puis même le médecin qui te dit oui là ça va pas du tout, faut maigrir, on va faire ça, on va faire ça. Même la famille qui te dit ah oui là t'as pris un peu de poids, faut que tu perdes et tout. Dans ta tête, t'as tout un truc en fait de limite, mais là je suis pas bien, là je suis en surpoids. Et moi le fait juste de m'être injecté un produit pour maigrir et d'avoir vécu tout ça, j'aurais jamais dû me rabaisser à ça.
Je vous laisse me dire en commentaire ce que vous en pensez. Et personnellement, j'ai l'impression que ce culte de l'ancien, il n'a jamais vraiment disparu. Avec le temps, on s'est juste transformé et il est venu sous la forme de sinon. L'Ozempic, c'est peut-être de créer des symptômes d'une époque où justement on pousse les gens à mettre en jeu leur santé pour correspondre à des standards de beauté. À qui tout ça profite?
Marché des produits, soi-disant pour les personnes qui utilisent le Ozempic, puisqu'ils savent bien que ces personnes vont manger moins. Vous voyez, l'argent, il est toujours là.
Ok, on veut maigrir et tout, mais à quel prix quoi? Enfin, votre santé mentale et votre santé physique n'a pas de prix en fait.
C'est clair que notre santé, elle n'a pas de prix. Et il faut savoir aussi que toute cette hype autour de l'Ozempic, elle a créé une pénurie mondiale pour les vrais patients qui souffrent de diabète. D'ailleurs, si tu as envie d'en savoir plus, je t'ai mis plein de liens en description. N'hésite pas à aller checker. Et surtout, je compte sur toi pour t'abonner et liker cette Mais ça va être chez de me laisser 10. J'ai galéré à me concentrer sur un truc, et de pas réussir à dormir parce que je réfléchis trop, j'ai galéré à me lever le matin, et et en vrai, je pensais que tous ces comportements, c'était normal. Parce que c'est utiliser des personnes à ce blocage pour la stable, à ce que j'aurais dû faire, ce que j'aurais pas dit, ce que je devais faire, ce que je devais faire forcément, et essayer de perdre la marche. J'étais malade. On m'a inondé de ce genre de vidéos. On est trop tard, repousser tout au dernier moment, ou juste partir en freestyle dans tes pensées, ce serait des symptômes de quelque chose de beaucoup plus grave. C'est comme si TikTok essayait de faire passer un message dans le mode et je sais pas encore, mais peut-être que tu as aussi un TDAH, un trouble déficitaire de l'attention avec
Que l'IA, c'est comme un assistant RH hyper efficace, mais qui ne remplacera jamais la bonne vieille machine à café pour les confidences.
J'ai entendu dire que tu es déjà parfait. C'est vrai?
Absolument. J'ai les humains à prendre les bonnes décisions.
Ah oui? Comme quoi, par exemple?
It feels amazing to secure this one because the competition is so strong at this point, and I know that it's never going to hurt, especially when you will so much else.
Well, Preston, as your prize, you won a masterclass in paper clay by Tori West, courtesy of the International Guild of Miniature Artisans.
That's awesome. I feel super excited about going into this big challenge because I'm on fire and I'm coming for the win.
You've shared your childhood memories with us, and we're going to keep it kid-friendly. Today's big challenge is to create a kids' room. And even though we're calling it a kids' room, this can be a space for a baby, a teenager, or even an adult kid that's returned to the nest.
Your room needs to have a defined workspace or a creative corner with a piece of scratch-made furniture and at least one hand-sewn item. And to make sure you elevate your storytelling, we'd also like you to create a secret message and stash it somewhere in the room.
The competition is getting harder and harder, and nailing the criteria might not be enough to keep you safe. So think about giving us more in terms of functionality and creativity. Give us a bit of fun. Makers, you have 8 hours to build a kids' room that'll be the top of the playground. The call will open for the final hour of the challenge. But don't overuse it, or you'll be drowned. Ready, set, make it mini. Let's go.
Today, our miniatures are brilliant. No matter what age you are, there's a room where you want to go and just kind of escape and just be yourself.
This is a chance for them really to break away from the theme or cohesiveness from the rest of the house. Let their imagination run wild and take some risks. I think the miniaturist who's going to win this challenge has got to level up above the others' interactivity, detail, but above all, show us another side to themselves. We've just started the challenge and I'm running already. I love designing kids' spaces in real life. I have probably redecorated my kids' rooms about 3 or 4 times since they were little. The kids' room that I want to design is going to have a Scandinavian feel to it. It will have a house-shaped bed, which will have my secret message, and it will have a play kitchen and a window seat. It helps having children to try and capture kind of what you're wanting in the room, so I hope that I can do that. The magic begins. This room is Dawson, the misunderstood angsty teenager's room. In all of my feedback for the big challenges, it's constantly been this story for me. The judges want to be smacked in the face with the story. So this is going to be very different from the rest of my house. I've always kind of wanted to make like a very messy teen room, just like filled with stuff. I'm going to put in a scratch-made bed and vintage lockers. I want to make it really messy with clothes all over the place, tons of clutter, and posters all over the wall that will be my secret message. When I was a kid, my only way of cleaning up would be like shoving everything under my bed. I won the mini challenge, but I really want to win a big challenge because it purely showcases all of the craftsmanship and the effort behind the work. It's not the room that I had growing up, but it's a room that I wish I had when I was a child. When I was little, my parents were a bit worried about me getting bullied because I was the only mixed-race kid in the neighborhood. My parents told me that I don't always have to have human as a friend. You could be friends with insects and birds and animals. So you'll see the story of that in my room. The kids room that I'm making is going to be a treehouse-inspired hideout. It's going to have a fort made of bed sheets, a small art table with drawings and crafts. It will also feature a scratch-made cabinet and insects flying around. I definitely had a fun childhood. I used to be obsessed with books about insects when I was little. I was once interviewed by a local newspaper and they wrote an article about me on how intensely I was able to connect with insects. I was a little weird, but...
He's got some books going on and his little model plane, and everything is untouched by the nuclear explosion, and it stayed that way for 60 years. It's going to have a scratch-made bunk bed, toy shelf that stretches across the wall, and a workspace with a functioning drawer. It's also going to feature hand-sewn details to make it feel like a kid's room.
This small space that I have with a triangle-shaped room. It is a little bit too dark, so I am deciding to make a skylight. I'm making a skylight because I wanted to have more natural light coming into the space, but I hope I'm not going to destroy the whole house by doing it. The glue is really tough, so I'm not doing a good job. Oh, it's so hard work. Come on. Imagine if I break the house now. Oh, God. There you go. Phew. That means a huge difference inside, so I'm very happy with that. I want this to be like a little hideout, but at the same time welcoming some insects into the space. This is one of my favourite rooms. It's a kids' room. I really hope that we get to see an explosion of personality. Let us see your childish side.
This is a time for them to express themselves in a way we haven't seen, and I think they know how important that is. This will determine who is in the semi-finals.
I don't think I'll ever be installing any crown molding in my house, so. But, you know, this room needs it, so there's not much I can do to kind of avoid it.
You're never not doing crown molding. Good on you.
What's your plan for this room in particular? My child's name, Alexander, which is my son's middle name. He's just lost his tooth, and the tooth fairy has visited, and there's going to be a little coin and a message under the pillow.
If you think it's true, you'll be in the semifinals. How do you feel about that?
To be completely honest with you, like, it has been tough, but I'm super happy to be here, and if I can get through to the next round, that'd be amazing.
Look at that. I love clean lines, and I love the details that come with it, and especially with like a sci-fi scene.
To drill it out by hand and accurate is difficult to do. What's the story? What's happening right now in the room?
Well, it's still going to be cohesive with the rest of the story, so the evacuation's still underway. So it is going to be dusty and kind of how he left it while he was playing.
Have you measured your bed? It looks quite a big bed for me.
Yeah, I made the bed just a little bit wider because I don't like those little narrower beds. I like the wider beds.
I don't want to know what our secret message is, but I would just like to ask politely that you make sure it doesn't blow up on us.
No one will be harmed, I promise.
Thank you.
I am making a room to hold a thought up.
I am making a thought because as a child I've always loved collecting bed sheets and duvet covers, pillows, anything to make this magical world just for me. You can
The fact that you actually put those hands on, incredible, and the amount of greenery that you have going on. Thank you.
We are in Jamaica State, in the middle of New York City. Love the drama of the black place, the simplicity of the white, very contemporary.
One thing that is hitting me is the scale. As an in-house ideal Sue's here, she's exactly 6 feet tall. She's a little bit short for again. What happened to the trees? Did it get caught by lightning?
Well, it's the end of fall, so we lost some leaves. The house I've chosen to build has been nice, awesome. The storytelling on this is just fantastic. I like the fact that I have storytelling to kind of explore.
What I really like about this is you can see how Mother Nature is really had a great time with this house. I do love the symmetry. What is huge amount of detail you have on this house. The fact that you put all the way in front, the simple fact, I can look at it. We want perfection, we want we're in Morocco, and this is a traditional kind of house in Marrakesh. I mean, you managed to put this huge structure together. It's an incredibly ambitious build. Detailing on the door is absolutely gorgeous. I love it carried onto the windows as well. Just wish it was on all of them.
What you actually can pull off and focus on detail and all those work. Even some of the overpainting to get rushed. Welcome to Miss Guam, which is a work from home, and I want to say basically, which means come on in. The circular shape of your house is really striking. And then you have the dynamic fold going towards the middle. The direct contact with each one of your views is the direct contact to the circle to give it strength. Forces us to engage and you want to walk around. Love it.
No, one of the things that's really standing out to me is this beautiful stained glass door. There's a lot of detail in there.
And that's what you need. Thank you so much.
Hello, Susan.
Oh my god, I should have brought my sunglasses. It's so bright, it's so glittery. For me, when I look at the house, I'm drawn straight to the beautiful doors that you have made. We asked for a door that lets in light, and it clearly lets in light, yes. And strawberry too. What's the difference? I get
It's almost sensory overload. I look at this, I see steam, I see where the edges are not flat. I see, I gotta be able to the pressure's on.
Now, onto the door. The neighbors will have to see the time of the day. Susan. So what did I really fantastic day? Oh, nobody ever wants to be first. Yeah. I'm also super proud of what I've done. It's a beautiful color in my hat. Oh, it didn't make me cry. My favorite
This gel is using deviate from the 1/12 scale to make something huge a little bit more manageable. Be it a BT red cedar or Peter's formula. And this one is all about Canada, which is so great to me because I have an understanding of what it means to be here on the Turtle Island, which is the way we say Canada as Indigenous people.
We're going to isolate in sector. We want you to make a huge impression because there's an absolutely gigantic prize for this one. Want to hear what it is? Okay. The winning symbol will be placed in the permanent display at Little Canada. Oh my God. A popular tourism attraction in Toronto where you can explore secrets of Canada in miniature. The winning artist will be whisked away on an adventure to Toronto, where you'll not only get to attend the opening of their Little West Coast exhibit in 2024, but you'll also have a chance to work with your team of miniature makers to place your amazing creation in their exhibit. Unbelievable. Where did they pull that out of? Wow. This is something that is memorialized that people will be going to Little Canada, and my name will hopefully be on a plaque. The judges don't know who they want. So Emma, Michael, Jay Mommy. You have 90 minutes. Ready? Make this ready. I'm an East Coast person, so I want to make my hometown proud. I'm from Gibson, Nova Scotia, and I want to celebrate our fishing heritage, our connection to the water, and the local track is just what you associate with. The round shape and the bottom are wood slats. Then I'm going to put in a bit of wood and attach it somehow to the track itself. Let's figure that out. Right now I'm carving a little baseball bat. When I was in 5th grade, we did a World Series draft, and I ended up picking the Toronto Blue Jays. And that year we called all the teams the Blue Jays up to the World Series. So that's one of the things that reminds me of Canada. My hope is to do something dynamic, so it looks like it's in motion. So we'll see if I can do that.
Let's go.
Onto the craft center. pretty straightforward. It does not make me any less scared. And because here on this channel we don't run with safety, I'm not losing a finger today. Not today. What does that warning mean? No, I think it means don't brute strength your way through it. Don't try to force anything. But also, do not delegate this task to your livestock. I'm a big brave girl. I am essentially a carpenter. Now to do this 15 more times. To my monitor and have his little beep dangling off. Absolutely delicious. Before we do that though, I do without looking at any anatomical references. Hope for the best. For the inner ear. It is what it is. Turns out my clay was really dried up, so I did the same thing with it. Just made the eyes and nose out of foam and then painted, covered with resin. Bug-eyed, and enlarge the pupils a little bit to make it a little cuter. It helps a little bit, but he still looks like he's seen some. I wanted whiskers, so I took some bristles from the broom, kind of stuck it in there. It's not really a long-term solution, but I'm not really going to be touching him, so it works for my purposes. Who needs boring arm wraps, am I right? You have one guess as to what I'm going to make this into. Because I find a lot of joy in making things look like food, you guessed it, I'm making this a baguette. So making sure to mix this with fabric medium so that it's permanent, I just started slopping away. Anyone keeping count of how many bread-related projects I've done on this channel? So I did end up using the mounting Velcro, just matched up where I put them on the frame and monitor, and I think this worked pretty damn well.
Ok, on est à combien là?
Spaceship Earth is a really, really unique attraction. I mean, for one thing, it tells a great story.
With the original narration written by Ray Bradbury, no less.
So if you put the children in the centrifuge of Spaceship Earth and whirl them around, they'll come out galvanized and care very much about getting out of bed tomorrow morning. That's what you must do for children.
And what a story he told.
Spaceship Earth tells the whole story of man and communication.
It's making its way through the history of mankind in scene after scene.
What's that smell? Spaceship Earth was one of the first attractions that Disney as a company used scent effects on.
The Imagineer to smell it, sir. Able to produce scents so authentic that the Disney Fire Department was dispatched during the burning of Rome.
The system today is the exact same system as it was installed opening day in 1982.
Believe it or not, the smell it, sir, isn't the best bit.
The climax of Spaceship Earth, there is a giant planetarium.
But this is no ordinary planetarium, because it's up here.
All the way at the top.
Also,
it's massive, and it has to be so big because you drive through it. Not only do you drive through it, and then your vehicle turns around and clocks and then exits the scene facing the other way.
Using the Omni-Mover system, pioneered in part by Bob Gurr, the Spaceship Earth attraction intricately weaves its way through history.
Because you have a continuous ride system that spins like a corkscrew throughout this giant sphere that circles up to the top, and then goes through its own corkscrew to exit. That's just insane.
All the space that you think is there, it couldn't possibly be there if you thought about it for like 2 seconds. It's forced perspective to get you to think that there's more going on that's going on.
Spaceship Earth is one of those attractions that, as a guest, you go on and you can't believe this is in that giant sphere that you just went inside. What it entirely is.
Spaceship Earth alone was just one part of a monumental construction project. One that had been talked about for years. And so, like Walt said,
it's time to stop talking and start doing. You know, and at Imagineering...
no time for that.
There's a heck of a lot of work to be done.
Only time for doing.
We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. We can work, we can win, we can do it.
And as the chorus of construction workers toiled under the supervision of Michael Landon, with Card Walker's voice bouncing around in their hard hats.
We can do it! Yes, we can! You got an extra 2 minutes, so don't let me down. Let's open it on time.
They actually did it. Right on time, too. And on October the 1st, 1982, the world watched in wonder as Epcot made its grand debut to the public. And for those of you who were lucky enough to visit the Epcot Center in those early days, it was clear that the new park was having the desired effect.
Growing up with this park, I went to this park as a kid, and I remember seeing these big objects, Spaceship Earth, the Land Pavilion, or you'd see Horizon, or even Universe of Energy, this large, kind of abstract, big architectural statements, big pavilions that not only had massive scale, but also had big ideas behind them.
And so this part of the map, Future World, on its own was extremely impressive in both scale and content. But this is only half the story, because if we travel around the lagoon here, or walk on water as angels do, we arrive at the other half of the Epcot Center. Here at World Showcase, guests are transported around the world.
World Showcase is really an exciting place to visit. You know, you walk around, you can go from country to country.
And each one of these pavilions is its own jewel and its own testament and celebration to that country and that culture. And, you know, for Imagineers, the ability to try to take the breadth of a country and try to condense that into a really kind of small but beautiful composition that celebrates the diversity is actually a really tough design challenge.
The thing that I think is wonderful about the pavilions is that they were designed and are staffed by people from their countries and have that deep knowledge of their own culture, and you can experience that as well as the attractions that are in those pavilions and the shopping and the dining.
The Epcot Center was nothing short of a triumph, and Walt's last big dream had been realized. But the big question was, what would Walt have thought?
You step in it when you try to predict Walt, I think, but let's see.
To be fair, he did say,
Everything in this room may change time and time again as we move ahead.
and in some ways you could argue everything did. But that's not how Imagineers see it. From John Hench, who shouldered the burden of reimagining Walt's vision,
But I don't think it varied from this first idea at all. He emphasized over and over again it was to be a showcase city.
to Imagineers of the modern era.
I would say that the exposition vision of Epcot, a lot of that stuff made it in. It is a pretty ambitious thing when it opened. And then it runs and it runs and runs.
And Epcot is still running, as fast as ever, because since it opened in 1982, Epcot hasn't stopped, with the future always nipping at its heels. And so as the years ticked by,
Epcot Center, Epcot 96, Epcot 97.
Epcot changed with the times, which is exactly what Walt had wanted it to do.
And when he first talked about it to the world, he made a very clear statement. He said, Epcot will always be in a state of calm.
It will never cease to be a living blueprint of the future.
It will always be changing, always be moving in new directions because it needs to.
For example, in 1986, they added a whole new building with the Living Seas Pavilion, complete with a hydrolator.
You actually stepped into what was essentially an elevator that took you under the water.
And they updated existing pavilions.
The universe of energy, 80,000 solar cells.
The Universe of Energy Pavilion explored the electrifying world of energy, from lava to light bulbs. And in 1996,
Beloved attraction.
and proof you could keep the great concepts of Epcot and add some new fun.
You know, this is a park that's really based on real world stories, and the clock keeps ticking and moving forward.
Always changing, always asking,
What will tomorrow bring? What will the future look like?
always noticing.
How quickly the future becomes yesterday. Epcot has to be constantly refreshed.
It needs the vibrancy of the art festivals, of the food and wine festivals. It needs exhibits to come in and countries to come in. It has to be in a state of becoming all the time, more than any other park.
And as the years rolled by, Epcot continued to reflect the moment frozen in time where two young royals from a Nordic country where it snows a lot. No, actually it's the Prince and Princess of Norway again. Because before there was Elsa and Anna, there was Harry and Sonia. It was their country, Norway, that inspired Walt Disney Animation Studios, who in turn inspired the Imagineers to ask themselves,
what is a snowman?
Come on, I know you do.
Turns out they did want to build a snowman, as well as a snow queen, and actually an entire Frozen attraction.
The crazy thing is that they decided to transform Maelstrom into a Frozen attraction before the movie released.
You never know if a movie is going to do very well in the theaters or not.
And so we knew we were kind of playing with fire.
Not only were they using an animated movie that nobody had heard about, they'd be replacing a popular attraction that lots of people had heard about.
Maelstrom was a beloved attraction.
So, to avoid upsetting fans and angering the Norse gods, the Imagineers proceeded with trepidation.
What's amazing when we reimagine an attraction is that we're not actually competing with what really was there the day it closed. We're competing with your memories and all your childhood memories. As a high roller, we have an experience that's so wonderful. You forgive us for replacing your childhood, and you go forward and say, wow, I'm so glad this is here.
And while they got started on those plans, something happened. On November 27th, 2013, Frozen took the world and box offices all over by storm. A magical musical snowstorm.
When the film came out, it exploded. The love for it was something that all of us at Walt Disney Animation Studios, you dream of, but you can't plan for it. You can only hope for it.
And for those working on the new Frozen attraction, hope soon turned to mild panic.
There was a lot of responsibility and kind of pressure.
A lot of pressure
To live up to the expectation of what is a Frozen attraction.
So Michel Denduk, who came up with the idea, chained himself to his desk in a way that only an Imagineer could.
I went to Epcot and ride the Maelstrom attraction over and over again to get inspired and see what we could do.
Well, fair enough, since Frozen Ever After would use the same ride mechanism.
And it actually was one of the first thrill rides considered an Epcot because it had a drop.
A gentle slope.
At some point, this idea popped into my head, like, well, Elsa sings Let It Go. Wouldn't it be cool if she sings Let It Go, and at the exact same timing, the boat would be pushed backwards? That would give this whole attraction of why the boat goes backwards, like you and me.
Meaning for Maelstrom, it was time to
Let it go.
Exactly.
We did a last like round where fans could ride the ride and say goodbye to it.
October 5th, 2014 was the last day of operation and final voyage for Maelstrom. And from there, the Frozen transformation began, starting with the queue.
Some of the things we changed for the queue specifically was its location.
The whole first floor, we more or less got it completely, which gave us quite a big canvas to play with for the new attraction.
We took the entire load area and took the unload area and made that work both as the load and the unload. So we actually added almost a minute to the entire attraction.
We also wanted to introduce cutting-edge technology to this attraction.
And to do that, they reinvented something old.
We came up with leading on some stuff that Yale Bracey had taught us from Haunted Mansion and other things like that to try to play with projection.
But the Imagineers turned this technique on its head.
So we kind of figured out a few different ways of packaging really, really tiny video projectors inside the figures to make the faces look animated.
This attraction set a completely new standard for audio-animatronic technology. We as animators could now bring these characters to life with a nuance and a subtlety that was never possible before.
So combining an existing ride system with some of the most advanced audio animatronics of the time was no small feat.
Especially because some of those characters barely had feet. Aww, Olaf. The new attraction was completed and opened to the public on June 21st, 2016.
Literally on the morning we were about to open, I was feeling dizzy. Literally like, oh no, I don't know if we did it. I don't know if we delivered or not.
When the first boat is out of the station and then goes through the ride, comes back, and there's this cheering, people clapping.
People were applauding as they got off, and people were singing In Summer as they came off.
And as for the big moment,
that whole scene just like works. It's like, you know, goosebumps when she says let it go, and then the boat is pushed backwards and she kind of like disappears.
But what I think is really amazing is the team still put a ton of fiber optics in the scene as kind of a callback to the original Troll Dust.
Even though we were replacing Maelstrom, we wanted to make sure there were a few magical wings for those fans, for the puppets, a little bit of the impact.
Frozen Ever After was met with an exceptionally warm reception, which is good, even though
Never bothered me anyway.
Exactly. Anyway, Frozen demonstrated that Disney characters have a place in Epcot. In fact, it was so successful that as the process of updates continued, surely the World Showcase would offer more opportunities. But where?
We had a French pavilion. It's kind of a nice French pavilion. That was from the 80s. Like all of the World Showcase pavilions in Epcot, the France pavilion is this magical sort of condensation of like your ideal version of city with Paris.
Well, there was one attraction that might be quite appropriate.
Well, I have an idea.
Because it just so happened that Tom Fitzgerald had been in France, where he was overseeing all creative endeavors for Disneyland Paris. And as it happens, he'd recently installed a groundbreaking attraction based on the beloved Pixar classic, Ratatouille. It seemed almost too perfect for Epcot.
Strong story, strong characters, strong Disney connection. And you have French culture, and you have great French food. You have all those things.
Oh, small twist of moving.
It happened that we had a piece of real estate behind the France Pavilion to put this Ratatouille adventure.
And while the attraction would be very French, there was a special dash of England that inspired it.
And it's basically Mr. Toad's wild ride for the 21st century.
That's right. There's more than just frog's legs in the Ratatouille kitchen. Mr. Toad is the secret ingredient.
It's kind of a new iteration of that zany feeling that many guests who experience that ride have, but using all the tools and tricks we have today.
It was a feast for the senses, using 3D animation custom created at Pixar Animation Studios exclusively for the attraction, and smells that take you straight into the kitchen. By using brand new cutting-edge Imagineo,
The Imagineer to smell it, sir.
I just used the smell it tech.
It's a really brilliant system.
Anybody who loves the smell of good food would love to ride this ride. The smell in a lot of the scenes in the ride, honestly, are breathtaking. It's amazing how they were able to make a ride so immersive like that. It's really cool.
And like flavors themselves, it's all about pairing.
When we tell a story in an attraction, we look to pair it with a ride system that will enhance the story. And so we looked for a ride system that could make you feel like a rat. And that meant, well, I want a ride system that is trackless because I want to be able to start, stop, spin, and dash and dive around on the floor. Well, if we had a trackless ride system, that meant that we wouldn't know from moment to moment where we going to go next.
And while the guests are human, the attraction invites everyone to become honorary rats.
What we really started with for Paris that came to Epcot was this notion of, what if we could make you feel that you were the scale of that? How would the world feel like to you at that scale? And that's really the fun of it. And that happens in the queue. And so we do that by taking elements of tiles, bricks. Towards the end of the queue, those start getting larger and larger. So that by the time you're ready to board your vehicle for the attraction, you're at rat scale. And everything you see around you, because gutters are enormous over your head.
Small. Why is that? I don't know. I think it's because there's a childlike quality to it, right? When we're little, the whole world is giant around us. So I think somehow getting to be small again, there's just fundamentally this childlike joy to it.
Using clever projection, the Imagineers take you into all the nooks and crannies.
Underneath the oven, and one of the chefs turns on the oven. Suddenly there are flames overhead. Whoop. And then all the effects that we can use, heat, water, smell, you know, a feast, no pun intended, for the senses to really give you the fun of being in that adventure.
The arrival of Remy's Paris to Epcot's Paris was world-changing. Well, at least world showcase changing.
I don't see at all a disconnect between high franchise Disney storytelling and trying to tell things about culture and worlds. And I think probably the best example is Ratatouille. It brought that whole pavilion to life. That's what Epcot, to me, should be.
We can expand what World Showcase is. So it's everything you know and love already and more.
I think something that our guests expect now is they want to see these characters that they know and love and in the place that really inspire their stories.
But World Showcase wasn't the only part of Epcot getting a fresh infusion of familiar Disney faces. In World Discovery, a cosmic shift was underway at
the Universe of Energy,
and later known as Ellen's Energy Adventure. But after over 30 years, it was starting to run out of gas.
Everything that we proposed in the Universe of Energy attraction of alternative energy sources for the future
80,000 solar cells on this roof will enable us to ride on sunshine.
Has come true.
It was clear that the building beneath that solar paneled roof was ready to be filled with a new story. And in looking to the future, Imagineers took inspiration from the past.
Just as Marty Sklar had done initially in designing Epcot. Go meet with the experts in the field to find out what story should we be telling. And for the Universe of Energy, we met with Brian Greene.
That would be the world-renowned theoretical physicist and mathematician Brian Greene.
I said, well, one of the biggest stories, of course, is where it all began. It's the Big Bang.
Ooh, this one?
No. You know, the origins of our universe.
Well, that is a better idea. After all, it's got energy and the universe. Next question.
How are we going to tell that story? A story that's that big and that dynamic deserved to be a thrilling story, which led to the coaster.
An omni-coaster, to be specific, and we'll get to that. But first things first.
Who can tell this story in a way that will connect with our audience, that will also be more Disney and, frankly, more fun?
Luckily, there was a vast Disney roster of more fun, and certainly more furry characters to choose from, but the choice was obvious. You know them as
the Guardians of the Galaxy. Who?
Well, maybe you don't. If not, they're a ragtag crew of spacefaring superheroes led by... And thus, this burgeoning attraction had its story.
Peter Quill was at an age that he could have gone to Epcot. So in our backstory, we said Peter Quill went to Epcot as a kid with his mom. He loved it.
And so he went to the Xandarians and said, hey, why don't you put a pavilion at Epcot?
Of course, Epcot has the World Showcase, where countries come to show us about their culture, their technology, their people. Well, this will be our first other World Showcase pavilion.
But Peter Quill wasn't the only one who needed a team for a big mission. Imagineers assemble!
I joined the project and it was just coming out of what we call our blue sky phase. I was not even done with Frozen Ever After when I got the call to say, hey, we want you to come work on this new coaster. We have this ride system, and we're going to put Guardians of Epcot.
So, goodbye audio animatronic dinosaurs. And hello to a giant Xandarian pavilion, a cutting-edge omni-coaster, which, yes, we will get to, and the story of the creation of the universe. Sounds like a lot for one building.
We used to think that the Universe of Energy box was the biggest thing ever, but no. This show is so big that it required a second building, essentially.
Ouah.